Welcome to the Thrive Hive podcast, the place where success meets reinvention and nothing, I mean nothing, is off limits. I'm your host, Nancy Medoff, speaker, coach, best-selling author, and former corporate VP who knows firsthand what it means to leave a wildly successful career behind, to build a dream business and life, then blow it all up again when it's simply no longer enough. This show is for the positive disruptor. The woman who's already done the big job, built the business, raised the kids, and still knows in her heart she is meant for more. Each week here inside the Hive, we take bold, intentional action, not because we're lost, but because we're awake. We talk reinvention, managing our energy, boundaries, and the power of surrounding yourself with the right women. So if you're ready to stop carrying it alone and ready to design what's next with clarity and confidence, come on in. This is your space. This is your time. Welcome to the Hive. Hello, Thrivesters. What is up? How is everybody? It is May. You would never know looking out my window. It is freezing. It is raining. It's just not nice out. Again, if you're watching on the tube, as I like to call it. By the way, if you get anything, if you do anything on YouTube, you can head over there and subscribe to the, it's actually the Nancy Medoff channel. And the podcasts get automatically uploaded. And some of the facial expressions that go on around here when I'm recording this podcast, they're legendary. So I'm just saying you might be missing out. Okay. So what we're talking about today, this is a big one. And I think I know we've talked about confirmation bias before, and I had this thought about this topic, and then so many women in my life came out of the woodwork and supported this topic that I want to talk about. I want to talk about rounding out your life so that when you do finally have time to do all the things that you want to do, you've already built that framework. And you've already laid the foundation to do these things. Here's what I mean by that. I was talking to a friend the other day, actually it was a few weeks ago, and I was talking about purposefully slowing down a little bit. I'm not speaking as much as I used to because I am really enjoying being at home. Danny is spending less time at the office. I'm enjoying that. And I was, kind of talking about, what it's going to look like for me next year. And she only knows me as professional Nancy. This is keynotes. This is Starbucks at 6 a.m. running through the airport. This is, agendas with my name as the keynote speaker, like this going, corporate Nancy. So when I talked about purposefully slowing down the pace, she said, well, what are you going to do with your time? And I was kind of taken aback, and then I, in my head, really kind of laughed. And because her assumption was, and this is fair, her assumption was that when my work disappears, my life is empty. Or my life, that's really it if you think about it. So think about that. If you're working full time, if your children are all now out of the home, if you identified as a nurse, and now you're not in nursing anymore, whatever the case may be, when that's gone, what's there? What's left over? And I don't mean broad, general, my family. I mean specifically. So she said, well, what are you going to do with your time? And meanwhile, I'm over here thinking, well, what am I going to do with my time? I have a government position. I have 2 grandkids. I have a tennis club that I'm irrationally excited about. I just started playing golf again, got my golf clubs re-gripped. I'm trying to think of what else. Travel, all the things. And it's not a board, there's nothing wrong with being on a board. A lot of women, and a lot of you listen to this podcast, when I ask you what you're going to do when you retire, this is about retiring, I'm going to get on a board. Okay, well, that's not the end all be all. So, and that's still working, by the way. So that's not retiring. So we can get into that one a little later on. So, and I was just thinking about, oh God, I have all this stuff to do. We live our whole lives saying, I wish I didn't have to work, even if we love what we do. We do. I wish I didn't have to get on this plane at 6 a.m. I wish I didn't have to go into the office today. Then we have the opportunity to actually do what we want and to actually fill our days with what we want to fill it with. And a lot of people, and I am talking to you, listener, beware. A lot of people build their entire identity around what they do. I have seen it happen again and again and again. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you a few examples, okay? So that feels good, right? This is what I do. This is who I work for. This is my role until life changes. And maybe you get laid off. Maybe you get, some kind of for some reason you have to slow down. Maybe you retire. Maybe, like I said, your kids are out of the house. Maybe there's a significant change in your relationship. Maybe it's a season when you simply realize, oh, I get to do what I want to do. Or, you make the decision to purposefully step out of one life and into another one. But here's the key. You have to have a foundation for this new life. It's not just going to appear. It's not like, oh, I'm going to get on a board. And then, okay, you retire and now you're going to find a board to get on. Now you're retired, so it's harder to get on a board. What kind of board? Is it a board for something that you're interested in? I'm going on a tangent on this board thing, but my point is, if your work disappears tomorrow, will your life still feel full? And I want you to really ask yourself that question. And I'm going to say it again, if your work disappears, poof, goes away overnight, will your life still feel full? I can tell you unequivocally, about 10 years ago, I started making a conscious effort to build a life where that answer was yes. I'm going to go back. So I have several people in my life who are facing, probably over the next 5 years, retirement. And I think that's great. And I'm happy for them. It's fantastic. You get to now do whatever it is that it is you want to do. I would say 90% of them have no idea and they are terrified. In the past, this has been said about men, and there's actually a book out there. I talked about it many years ago on this podcast. It's called From Strength to Strength, and it's kind of geared towards men, but it applies to everybody. When you build your identity around your work and your work is gone, a lot of people become very, very lost and very bored and very scared, and sometimes they have health issues. Like, I'm not trying to scare you, but if you haven't taken the time to build what I like to call a portfolio life, think about a portfolio of finances. You have some in mutual funds, some stocks, some bonds, some high risk, some low risk. If you don't have that in your life, and I'm not just talking about work, friends, and family, that's 3 things. Hobbies, interests, where are you giving back? What are you doing that's new that you've never done before? How are you challenging your mind? What are you intentionally making time for, even if it's painful? That's a big deal too. You can't grind for 40 years, wake up and expect the world to be waiting for you. It's not. So, what are you doing so that you will have purpose, you will have agency when, for whatever reason, you're not working as much anymore? I don't, like I said, the question that was asked of me, what are you going to do with your time? I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, what do you mean what am I going to do with my time? Do plenty with my time. The next day I talked to this friend who is having realistic conversations about retiring, and she had no idea. I'm working with one client. So that's kind of the cautionary tale, is that you wake up and you're retired or you leave your job, or your job leaves you, or your kids are grown, or, whatever the case may be, where you suddenly have a lot of free time where you didn't. So that's the one. Cautionary tale is the one side. The other side, I am working with a client now who had the luxury. By the way, that reminds me, I still have the Summer Buzz Intensive going. It's 3 sessions. You get in, you get out, and then you go enjoy your summer. And this can be finding clarity, rebranding yourself, rebranding your business, rebranding your career, thinking about what's next. This topic, 3 sessions. Bing, bang, boom, you're done. Go enjoy your summer. Because if you wait until after summer's over, then it's going to be busy fall, then it's going to be holidays. You'll probably never do it. There's a link in the show notes. I just moved someone out of the program and I have room, so grab the spot. Anyway, I digress. So I'm working with a one-on-one client, and she had the luxury of being able to pause her career for a few months. And this is just fascinating because we spent a lot of time really building this life, what I call a portfolio life. This is things that nourish you. This is relationships. This is volunteering, play, community, exercise, wellness, curiosity, adventure, learning, meaning, whatever you want to call it. So it's not one identity. It's all of these different things that are this portfolio of who you are. So this client is doing just that. She's exploring, she's volunteering, she's prioritizing her health, she's paying it forward, she's spending her time differently. She's saying no to opportunities that she would have jumped all over. And we just had a session a few weeks ago where she said no to something, and it was a big deal. She's like, I thought I wanted to do it, and turns out I didn't. Okay. And I said, well, how did it feel when you said no to this opportunity? And she said, without skipping a beat, she said, it felt extraordinarily powerful. Because this is her, for the first time, not choosing out of obligation, choosing out of alignment. She knew her values. I call them pillars, values, buckets, whatever you want to call them. She was very, very clear because of our work together. And if she was on the show, she'd be saying this. Knowing what is important to her, and it was a corporate thing that she was asked to do that she probably would have jumped all over 2 weeks prior. She's like, you know what? No, I don't want to go do it. It's not aligned with how I want to live. And that is a huge, 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 huge shift. And I can tell you from experience that is the most empowering way you can live your life. I'm not going to do this because I am purposefully making the choice to live how I want to live. And I will be honest, there's a little bit of fear around, well, what's everybody in corporate going to think of me? And this applies whatever you're doing. If you're in a community, if you're, hanging out with a bunch of other moms, what are all these people going to think of me if I stop doing everything according to that persona? And what I said to her was, I said, you might get a few eyebrows raised right now, like, oh, she's not doing that? Like, what's going on with her? Or like, oh, well, I would have jumped at that, or whatever the case may be. And eventually these are the same people that are going to come around and say, you have an amazing life. How do I do what you did? Or, I really love the confidence that you have when you make decisions. We talked about the decision filter a couple of weeks ago here, and I'm going to use that all the time now. That phrase. You have this confidence about you and your decisions, and you know who you are, and you're always true to who you are. Imagine a life where every day you are true to who you want to be. That is thriving. And that is not easy. It's not hard, but it doesn't come without work, and you have to do that work. And I didn't know I was going to do this, but I'm gonna off the cuff, I'm gonna give you 3 things you can do to start doing that now. I'm making this up. The first thing is, and I think I said this earlier, intentionally making time. And I wrote this down. A couple of weeks ago. I'm looking for it right now. Making time creates time, I think I said. I don't remember. It was something about that. But making the time, investing the time now in these things that aren't part of your persona now. So, for example, let's say somebody is going to a flex schedule instead of a full-time schedule, right? So you're going to have a lot more time on your hands. Okay. What this person could do or could have done leading up to it. I know I'm going to have more free time coming up. Let's take the person I was talking to who's talking about retiring. She's not getting ready to retire. She's talking about retiring. And this is one who, frankly, I don't know what she's going to do with her time because work has taken up so much of her time, her entire life. If you have the big baller job, you don't have a lot of time for other things. You just don't. You have to make the time. So what she could be doing is maybe saying no to one trip a month where ordinarily she would have said yes if she's traveling a lot, and carving out time to actually pursue these ideas, right? We all think about, let's take tennis, right? I'm like, oh, maybe I'm going to play tennis. So I carved out time and I started taking lessons to make sure that I like it. And I started playing with friends to make sure that I like it. Now, when I have a little more time to play tennis, because it's the summer and I slow down, I don't travel in the summer as much. I'm set up. I have a tennis club. I have the equipment. I have the friends. I have some skills. I'm still horrible. So I've set that up. I have another client, speaking of tennis, who loves tennis. It's a one-on-one client. She loves tennis. And I met with her many years ago. And I think on Thursday mornings or something, she plays tennis. She said, because we were talking about how to map out her week in terms of time. She said, that is a non-negotiable. I play tennis at this time every week. I am not willing to give that up. Great. 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 Because when she's ready, she's going to have that momentum and have that part of her portfolio ready to go. I'm going to make the portfolio analogy again. Like we said, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, high risk, low risk, real estate, whatever. You don't just, when you build your portfolio, your financial portfolio, you don't just wake up one morning and say, I'm going to take all my money and I'm going to spread it out all over the place evenly, right? That's not the way you do it. You do a little bit at a time. You say, oh, maybe I'm going to invest a little bit in real estate, or maybe I'm going to invest a little bit in mutual funds, or oh, maybe I'm going to, I'm going to take a little money and do a little more high risk stock, or whatever the case may be. You see how it feels, you see how it goes, and that builds and builds and builds. And some of it takes off, some of it not as much. But you do the work before you actually have to live off that portfolio. It's one of the reasons why I love this analogy. Okay, so carving out time now. Making time creates time is what I actually had said. Purposefully carving out the time now for the things that you want to do. The other thing the other area of that you could work on right now is your relationships outside of whatever circle it is that you're in. So outside of work, outside of your mom group, outside of your business, outside of your community, whatever this identity is that you have, finding and or nurturing relationships outside of that circle, for lack of a better term. Because you can't just flip a switch and say, oh, I'm ready to double down on all these relationships now. You have to nurture them. You have to find them. You have to take the time purposefully to build these relationships. And that is not easy when you're an adult. It's not. It doesn't happen fast, and it's not easy. And I'm not saying that you go out and join a mahjong club or go out and join a book club just so you can meet new people. All of that is super great and super fun. I'm saying consistent, long-term relationships that are going to carry you through basically your life that are not work. So the third thing I want you to do is think about when whatever it is it's taking up the bulk of your energy now is no longer around. Could be kids, could be a partner, sadly, could be your family unit, it could be your community work, it could be, we could be talking about anything. When that is no longer around, the thing that takes up all your energy, or a lot of your energy, I'm sorry, I misspoke, where are you going to direct that energy? Where are you going to channel that energy? Where's it going to go? And if you don't know, if your answer is I don't know, that's okay. That's fine. You're probably like 90% of the rest of the world. Speaking of the rest of the world, shout out to Vietnam. Vietnam has joined I think we're in 75 countries now. Like, welcome, Vietnam. I don't know how did you even find me? I love it. Welcome. So where are you going to channel that energy? And I'm not talking about hobbies. That's important. Yep, I'm going to learn how to cook. I'm going to become a professional baker. Like that's all great. That's one thing. We're talking about a portfolio. So what I want you to do is really just ask yourself that question and be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. And I've talked about this before a little bit on the podcast. I see so many people I know and love really struggling because they said, I'll get to it. And then they get to it and they're like, oh, now what? And it is terrifying. I'm not trying to scare you. And for the 20 to 30% of you that listen to this podcast who are in your 20s and 30s, this could be anything. This could be your company lets you go. This happens. This could be you have to take a step back or a step out of something on purpose and you want to, and you have all this time, what are you going to do with it? You know, this could mean anything. So here's what I'll say. For those of you that are worried, overachievers are always going to be overachievers, right? Like attracts like. If you're listening to this podcast, you're an overachiever. I know that about you. And you're going to be doing something. You're going to find your rhythm. You're going to find what it is. Intentionally doing that, intentionally stepping into that agency, that is going to be a deal breaker. That, I'm telling you, it's going to be a deal breaker for you. I know it because I've lived it. I've done it. I've lived it. And it took a long time. It took a really long time. I hired my first coach when I was, let's see, this was probably 10 years ago. 10 years ago. So, you know, it takes a while, and this person really helped me see there is life beyond what I'm doing now. What do I want that life to look like? And I was stunned. What do you mean? I get to decide? Yeah, you get to decide. You're the engineer of your life. So carve out some time now, purposefully, to work on some relationships that, you know, maybe they take a little work. Sometimes the relationships that take a little work, not a lot of work, the relationships that take a little work, those are the ones that pay off really the most, in my opinion. And then think about if whatever's taking up most of your energy now, or a lot of your energy now, were to go away, what would you do with that time? And if you don't know the answer, start really thinking about it. Give it some thought. Start looking into it. Lay the foundation. Little steps, because that builds and builds and builds, and then you got a beautiful portfolio where you're thriving every day, where you pinch yourself most mornings and say, I can't believe I actually get to live like this. This happens, I'm telling you. And with that, Thrivesters, I'm going to say peace out. Happy, is it Memorial Day weekend that this is going live? No, it's the week before Memorial Day weekend. Happy almost summer. I hope wherever you are healthy, you are thriving. You're honoring your boundaries, you are living your truth, and you are going out there and thriving like you mean it. Peace out!
That's a wrap, Podsters. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Thrive Hive podcast. Hopefully, after listening today, you're feeling a little more fired up, a little inspired, or maybe a little more like yourself and like the person that you know you're meant to be. And if you loved today's episode, take a screenshot, share it on Instagram, tag me. I love to see where and when our Thrive Hive is growing. And if you're thinking about someone who you think should really listen to this episode, send it her way, because we all deserve to go out and live that life we work so hard to build. Now, go thrive like you mean it.